Hey everybody, Alex here, biomats.com. So in this video, we're going to go over the million-dollar question, which is, why are Richway Biomats more expensive? So this is a question we've been getting more and more often as the years go by, and the reason we keep getting this question with each passing year is because it seems like there's more and more of these pop-up copycat sort of competitor brands out there, and that are doing more and more sly, deceptive marketing strategies online or on video, you name it. There's imitators coming out of the woodwork claiming that their gadget is just as good as Biomat, and it's a fraction of the cost. Other times you might hear that they cut out the middleman and that Richway sells using a distributor as if this is a bad thing. And because they cut out the middleman, that they can provide a better price, which is funny because they are still the middleman if you think about it. And they cut manufacturing costs in other ways. And that's not always to the customer's benefit. So we're going to go into that a little bit in this video. So if you've only heard this, then yeah, you'd think that they were getting a better product at a better price, but in reality, there's again a lot of sly marketing, smoke and mirrors, and really at certain times total misrepresentation. And we're going to actually cover more of that in other videos when we review other review videos that are out there that are really being put out by the competitors. And gosh, I got to tell you, there's so many problems we're seeing with misrepresentation. And so the truth is that Richway Biomats, yes, they cost a little more, but because no shortcuts are taken. That's the important point to take away here. So then it's also, we wonder, well, what shortcuts are taken? So let me tell you, some of the shortcuts that we've seen in our research over the years is that some of these other competitor brands are using artificial amethyst. I know, artificial amethyst, it sounds crazy, but really, so many people are just trying to make a buck in any way they can. And they figure that, if it's inside the tubes, who the heck is going to check? And how's the consumer ever really going to verify that? It looks the same, but is it the same? So it's become an increasing problem over the last 5-10 years we've found. For the past 21 years, Richway has been the only one using gemstones that are natural and not chemically altered in any way, not heat treated, that's a common one too, to improve the appearance of lower grade stones or completely artificial stones. And this basically provides the best foundation for which way to build upon and provides the best results to the customer at the end of the day. So, however, the others have chosen to use synthetic crystals in their product. They go a step further, believe it or not, and they actually mix synthetic crystal powder with plastic resins. I can't make this stuff up, but the way you can actually find out and prove if what I'm saying is true is it's very simple. You just ask them for specific sorts of material certification that is used, third party, of these different component pieces. This is where you learn it. A lot of that information has to be provided from the factory and from the manufacturing level. And again, if you've actually received some of those documents, you're welcome to send it in to us, and we can actually provide you our feedback on if that's actually a verified document and if what they're actually claiming on there is true or not. We've actually seen fake documents floating around and being sent to us that have been sent from these other companies to their potential customers. But anyways, synthetic crystal powders, plastic resins, which, remember, why is that bad? Because generally when you heat up those types of compounds, that's when you actually get the volatile organic compounds, VOCs, if you want to look up that term, that can come off of that. You definitely don't want that absorbing into your body, your skin, or in the air. What are some other shortcuts that we've seen in the area of electrosmog or harmful EMF? So to say built with EMF protection, is that actually proven? Again, are there third parties that are actually guaranteeing that that's the case? Like in the case of Richway, who first converts alternating current, AC, power, to DC, direct current, at the controller itself. Again, that's a unique feature that we have not seen in any other competitor brand. So, with some of these mats, we've actually found without even the mat being turned on, just being plugged into the wall, we're actually reading EMF. That's never a good sign, or electrosmog. So, just saying the magic words EMF protection, these companies believe it's just as good as what the biomat's actually producing. But really the truth is that it doesn't take much to make the legal claim that EMF protection has been added. So, if you have barbed wire, for example, and it has a reading of, X voltage or volts from 3 inches away, then you put a piece of foil on top of it and drop that number by half a volt, then you can honestly say that, or legally say that EMF protection has been added. So in other words, what I'm illustrating to you is literally pretty close to exactly what they're doing. They're putting in a type of layer that's pretty similar to aluminum foil, tin foil, inside the mat, and claiming that actually is going to reduce that level safely. Folks, it's not that simple. And again, this is about, now that you know the type of question to ask these companies when you say, hey, okay, I heard that you're trying to reduce the EMF levels. Exactly how are you doing that? Can you describe that to me? Can you maybe give me some at the factory manufacturing specs on how you're reducing those levels? And we've done that. We've broken open these different mats and we've looked at the layers, and that's actually what we're finding. Is that it's just essentially something like that, tinfoil, aluminum, they throw it on top, and that's all there is to it. I wish it was that simple, but it's actually quite costly to really truly reduce electrosmog frequencies from the mat. So, even though the EMF readings are far higher for these different brands than the Richway Biomat, this kind of misleading, cost-cutting activity is really unfair, if you're the consumer or the user. So, take a look at the EMF comparisons that we put out there. You can make the decision for yourself. It's an apples-to-apples comparison for what's out there. There's no other shortcuts, like not having heat protection built in. And a lot of other people, may not think of this. And while you want your mat to sort of heat up and feel both infrared heat on your body, you likely don't want to be heating up your bed or your chair or any other surface that your mat's on. So, if you have, for example, a memory foam bed or a leather chair, and a lot of people do, that's another thing that we're seeing with these other sorts of brands. Is they don't have certain layers, especially on the back side specifically is what I'm talking about, like on the Biomat, that can actually protect that memory foam and leather. And keep in mind again that going with the Biomat, it has that extra layer in there that's going to protect these other sorts of surfaces from a lot of excess heat. Why do other brands not do that, by the way? Very simple. They're just looking to cut costs again. To have other insulating layers in their mats would increase their price. So when you start to break down, I'm just giving you, this is a little bit detailed in this explanation here, but these are just one of many examples of why the cost on a biomat is just more to produce. So other cost-cutting steps that have been taken, for example, like putting purple rocks on it and calling it a day, and people look at the purple rocks and they're saying, well, looks like amethyst, it must be amethyst. Well, again, it takes a little bit more discernment to make sure you're getting a legitimate product. So Richway Biomats, they provide many different benefits. So you have the increased negative ion output because of the TOCA layer, which we've talked about in other videos, what that is. You also have the quantum energy due to the patented technology. So a lot of companies, they make a lot of claim that are unsubstantiated, and they certainly don't have patents that back up some of those claims. So that's something to investigate in your research process. And then finally, there's also the effects of orgone energy that is based off of the multiple layers, the 17 layers that are in your biomat, and then again that you also find in the orgone pad and in the quantum energy pad. So all those additional benefits that I just went over, there's no other competitor mats, to our knowledge, that can actually make those same claims. So yes, they save cost, these other brands, on, only having the stones basically that heat up right at the end of the day. But is that providing all the same benefits as a Richway Biomat? They would like you to believe that, but now that we've gone through all the details and you know a lot more, you can see that it's a little bit more sophisticated. There's a little bit more to it than that. So again, we really feel that you're getting a lot more for your money of what when you're investing in a Richway Biomat. So in this last portion of the video, I'd like to go over kind of the biggest way to cut costs at the customer's expense by the quality of the build. So in the real Richway Biomat, compared to many others, the Richway Biomat is made in Korea. So that's where basically most of the trusted and reliable products, Samsung, Hyundai, are made. Korea is commonly known in like the health industry as the place you'd want to go to have a device that has a lot of electrical components involved with it manufactured. So a lot of times you'll find in different health equipment, so not just infrared mats, for example, when you're just investigating and looking at other health equipment, you'll find that sometimes they'll take components from different countries, things like that. But again, when it comes on how do you integrate the electronics with that, Korea is usually the go-to place over like Japan or China. And certainly you'll find in the infrared mat industry, 90% of those other competitors are having most of the product completely manufactured in China. And that's definitely a fact. So in Korea, why is that superior? For many reasons, and I'm not going to get fully into it, but they basically have more strict quality controls that are in place that are actually enforced on a governmental level. So that's a huge, huge difference between Korea's manufacturing process and China, where there's almost nothing on a governmental level in China that have to do with quality to control for their products on a manufacturing level. And then on top of that, Richway also has its own stringent quality control standards. So it's not just China. Some of these other competitive brands are also having aspects of their product manufactured in unknown locations. So in our research process, we've actually tried to investigate different aspects of some of these other mat brands and where they're made, and they will not literally disclose that information to us. It's a total gray area, which we consider a red flag. So again, we always say, now that you're armed with this knowledge, start to really pick apart some of these other brands and say, where's this made? Where's this made? Where's this made? Where is this assembled? And a lot of times you won't get answers back. So when you see that red flag, we would just say, just avoid that product. So with the Richway, they're always guaranteeing where everything is assembled, where everything is manufactured, and the quality control standards that actually come with that as well. So we've heard from customers, even worse than, having undisclosed locations and all that kind of stuff. They've reported that with other brands, they've gotten responses like, yes, it is made in the same factory, but it just costs less because it doesn't have the Richway name on it. That's a way to basically go around directly answering some of your questions when you go to the manufacturing. That doesn't make any sense at all. You can actually request that information like, hey, okay, well, if that's the case, do you have like a document that actually says the factory name, the address, and that they're certifying that they're actually manufacturing your particular company's product? So again, a lot of this, what we try to do in these videos and just in biomats.com is educate you so you know these types of questions to ask. When you ask those types of questions, by the way, they'll either hang up on you or they'll just give you some runaround answer because then they know that they can't actually prove that to you. But a lot of people, they just don't know these things and they'll just believe it. Oh, it's made in the same factory. They just put a different label on it. And by the way, that actually can be true when you're dealing with these other competitive brands other than Richway Biomat. In our investigations, we actually have found that 3 well-known brands are actually manufactured at the same factory. There's also 2 more that are manufactured at another factory. and they pretty much are doing the same manufacturing practices. They just put a different label on it. So that is true, we found, for other brands, but they try to make that sound, like also Richway is included in that, and that's definitely not the case. So you can always request that from the company. So Richway controls basically all aspects of the manufacturing process. Nobody else. We've also found that other competitor brands have very limited warranties. They offer you a 30-day or a 90-day. That's super common. If you purchase any Richway Biomat from biomats.com, they're all backed by a 3-year warranty. So nobody's even close to that in the industry. And again, why? It's simple. Quality. There's no other reason. So they really do stand behind their product. And even past that warranty time, there's still even ways to get servicing and to get support, especially if you work with us. We go above and beyond to help out customers 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years and beyond out. So again, we always go back, now that you're learning more, certainly now you can see that sure, some of these other competitor brands have lower costs, but they're taking a lot of shortcuts. You're getting a lot less value for your biomat. And now that you know more of the facts, you know that the Richway Biomat costs a little bit more, but you're feeling good about it because there's a lot more value behind this. So there's a lot of fancy marketing, sort of sly techniques that these different brands are doing, but probably at this point you're feeling a little bit more informed and empowered about what you can do to make a better purchase decision. So if you want to get all the benefits of a real Richway Biomat, you can order directly with biomats.com using the link below. And if you're on a tighter budget, you still don't know if you need all the benefits of Richway Biomat, honestly, you can always give us a call anytime. You can send us an email. You can do a live chat with us. And also, there are sometimes demo biomats as another savings. So you can kind of get into that, and if you like it, maybe upgrade into a larger biomat. So we're just looking to help as many people as possible. So call us. There's also financing available. We just want to make sure that everybody can really benefit from this amazing therapeutic technology. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, reach out anytime.